it's great that what you do. I mean, I work a lot in the legal sector, as you know, and I think one of the biggest challenges I think for a lot of law firms is finding solicitors, associates that are obviously very good at the law, as well as having, good business development skills. And I think that's the bit they don't really learn in law school. So,
Well,
and it's a challenge, right?
you hit upon a real challenge. It's a bee in my bonnet. I've got kids in secondary school. I don't know where people listen to this may have come across this. I think it should be a fundamental part of the curriculum generally, because let's face it, anyone going into the big wide world, whether that be in the legal profession or elsewhere, if you're going to run a business, often when you are employed in a business, there's still this business development requirements upon you. But certainly for the legal sector, for solicitors, for associates, and so forth, it's a lot about yes, you've got to be able to do the work. Clearly, that's fundamental to being able to do the job. But a key part of it is business development, and it's also, even if it's not business development, it's working well with clients. If you can form good relationships with clients, that's going to help and perhaps lead to longer term retention of clients, which is a great further business. But also it's just working with other people within your firm as well. It all comes under the same umbrella for me, because it's all about relationships and getting along with people, and for different ends, be that business, be that, could be career development, could be just working better together with your colleagues. All of it's worth doing. So I think it's absolutely fundamental part of professional life.
Fascinating. And in your work as a consultant, as a coach, you train individuals in terms of how they can be better networkers. And is that right? And what is it, the fundamental guidance and tips that you share?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely what I do. I'm going to say I'm less of a coach and more of a trainer. I think that's probably describes me better. That said, I do help people from time. I tend to help people on a one-on-one basis more with specific things. So, for example, public speaking is something I do a lot of. So I do help people with that. But when it comes to networking, it's more on training groups, to be honest, where I go. But in terms of the fundamental, I mean, there's tons and tons of stuff. So where do we want to start? Let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with the basics. What's the biggest challenge that most people do, in terms of the key principle to think of when networking? Right. A lot of people think, right, okay, if it's about business generation, as we were just saying before, it often is. You think, right, business generation, what's that mean? That means sales. We got to make some sales, and that's the angle that people go into maybe a network event or go onto LinkedIn with. So they think, right, I'm going on LinkedIn, I'm going to this event, I'm going to make some sales. Right. But there's a fundamental challenge. In fact, it's a big one. Because let's think about it. Have you ever been to a networking event with the intention of purchasing something? Never. No, people don't do that, do they? No. So you're setting yourself up to fail if you go into it with the intention of selling something, because it's never going to happen. Now, that's not to say that sales and revenue and business obviously can come in through a network. Of course it can, but it's never quite so direct. There's not a direct correlation. Go and meet someone, right? Do business straight there and then bring a new client in. Now it can happen, and occasionally it does. I'm not saying that it will never happen, but if that's your focus, if that's your intention, if that's your purpose going in, then you are setting yourself up to fail. So the key principle I would teach anyone is to look at it as much more of an organic, long-term process. If it's a quick fix to try and bring in a quick bit of business, it's not going to work. Got to build your network over time, and building a network really means one thing: building relationships with people. When you get to know people, you get to like them, and then you maybe get to trust them. You'll have heard that phrase, know, like, trust. That's a commonplace in business. And when you've got that network of people around you who are cheerleaders for you, they like you, they support you, they want to help you. If you can, if you think of your best friend, take it away from business for a sec. Think of your best friend. If they called you at 3 a.m, would you take the call? Now, you might be a bit grumpy about it.
Well, yeah, probably.
You'd be a bit grumpy.
Probably think something's wrong.
Exactly. You'd take the call because you want to know what's going on. You want to, if it's a problem, you'd help them. Now, I'm not expecting any business networking to happen at 3 a.m, definitely, but the fact is, you'll take the call because you've got the depth of relationship. You're
Yeah.
not going to take the call if it's some random number phone, obviously. And it's a similar principle when it comes to building relationships
Sure.
in business. You know, when you've got to know someone really well, you'll help them. You'll get them out of a bind if they're in. You'll try and you'll look for opportunities for them. But you're not going to do that until you got the relationship. So if you go in sales first, never going to happen. But go in, how can I help you? And sometimes you'll see people do a double take when you ask that question. You've got to mean it genuinely, obviously, if you are asking it. But you'll see people literally do a double take because they're so used to the more direct sales approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the key principle I teach people.
Yeah.
Drop the sales and just work on building relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I really focus it.
Fair enough. And so, you know, it's like, you know, I've gone to numerous networking events over the years, and sometimes you can walk into a room, you know nobody, and you think, oh, this is a little bit daunting. Who am I going to go up to? Shall I go to the bar? Shall I get something to eat? So, you know, can I just enter a group of people that are talking in a circle? Shall I just go and introduce myself? So, you know, you're quite trepidatious. You're not sure what to do. What guidance would you give for somebody who is like feeling anxious about, you know, going into a new setting? Like,
run and scream, go to run away. No, I'm joking. Look, this is a pertinent question because this is genuinely what I do. Whenever I walk into an event, and let's say, I don't know, you generally walk in and there's let's say the room's over there, and you walk in and there's maybe a sign-in desk or a place where you can get a coffee or a drink or drop your bag or whatever it might be. And when you're there and you say hello to whoever greets you on the door, because there's lots of people talking next door, because it's a network event, it always sounds really buzzy, busy, engaged. You know, there's energy there.
That's right.
And I always think this is genuinely what I always think. And I might be a networking expert, but as I said before, I'm an introvert. I call myself an unnatural networker. I'll always think, all these people know what they're doing, and I'm the only person that doesn't. Now, I know rationally that 5 minutes before when they walked in, they might have felt exactly the same. And I also know that in 5 minutes' time, when I have got into a conversation with someone, I'm going to be fine. I can do this. I'm a human being. I've had conversations before. And I think anyone listening to this who does feel a bit trepidatious, by the way, I love that word. I haven't used that word before. I'm going to use that word again. If you feel trepidation, feel a bit daunted by it, then, you know, you've had conversations. You can do this. So here's what I do. Number one is when I walk in, I won't go straight into the room. I genuinely mean this. I'll generally go to the bathroom. And I'll go and have a quick look in the mirror, make sure I haven't spilt food down my front or, you know, whatever, I got food in my teeth or whatever it might be. And I'll just tell myself it's going to be okay. And that may seem weird. It may seem, you know, and for some people, if you're a natural networker, well, that is not going to be relevant at all. You do not need to do this. And you'll say, come on, Charlie, pull yourself together. Why'd you do this? But the number of people I've had come up to me after a talk, let's say, and I've said, I do this, go, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I'm not the only one who does it. It really does help. You know, just be a bit more grounded in how you approach it. And the second thing is, before you even go in, I always do this. I set myself a goal, and that goal will be very simple. Bearing in mind what we just covered before about sales, it's not going to be I'm going to go and make 2 sales today or 5 sales today, because you know, to do that. But what I will say is I'm going to go and meet. I'm not going to leave this room until I've met 5 new people. Now, pick your number there. Could be 1, could be 2, could be 10, could be 100, whatever. Pick your number. I generally go with 5 because it feels very manageable. Yeah. You know, let's say I'm there for an hour and a half. That will allow me to have, with a bit of faffing around, getting drinks and moving around between people, probably going to allow me to have 5, maybe 6 conversations of 5 to 10 minutes. That's roughly how it would work. Obviously, that's very approximate. But the point is, when you set that goal, one, it's something you can shoot to achieve. And if you think, right, I've had enough of this and I've only met 2 people, well, no, I set myself a goal. I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to keep talking to people. The other thing is, when you do hit 5, and you'll generally hit 5 pretty quickly, it's not too difficult to do, bearing in mind everyone there wants to meet people. That's why they're at an event. You probably hit it quicker than you think, and then you'll think, well, you know, I could probably do another 2 and then do another 3 and do another 5, whatever it might be, and you'll actually
you're on a roll.
Exactly, you're on a roll. You get into the flow and you get going with it. So if you do feel nervous and daunted, I definitely think, send to yourself, go and look in the mirror, just say, look, it's going to be okay, and it really will be okay. And 2, go in with that goal, and when you just don't try and do too much. When you just give yourselves a manageable task, I think it becomes a bit easier.
Well, brilliant tips there, Charlie. And it's so true. I love the fact that the idea of just deciding to go into the bathroom, compose yourself, and then go
Yeah, I
and see.
genuinely do it. Anytime I go.
That
I've
keeps the
been, I
heart
don't know,
rate down, doesn't
I
it?
don't know how many networking events I've been to. I don't know, thousands.
No doubt.
Thousands in my networking career. So no,
Sure.
there's I may be a networking expert, but I still feel a little bit uncomfortable about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a new environment, and I suppose, and I think my approach as well is sometimes to just, well, not sometimes, actually all the time, I just feel that, look, I'm just going to go in there and see who I can help. You
Yeah,
know,
it's a lovely way to do it because based on what
yeah,
we were saying before, go and ask that question how you can help. Remember, take the pressure off you. You're not trying to make a sale there,
that's right.
and I think that's where so many people go wrong. They think, oh, I've got to make sales, and
Yeah,
inevitably they don't because what we said before, and then they think, oh God, I've got to go and do another one where I've got to go and you know do my elevator. I hate that phrase, elevator pitch. I mean,
yeah,
whoever has actually been in an elevator and had 30 seconds to try and win over their best client.
exactly.
It's not realistic at all.
No, it's
But
not.
yeah, you feel you're on that, treadmill of trying to make sales and take that pressure away. I'm just going to go and meet people. And like you say, see if I can help them. And
Yeah.
that's a much easier thing to do.
I think I was reading a statistic recently about how when individuals go to networking events, most people don't actually follow up
Oh,
after after you've
totally.
exchanged business cards, had a nice conversation, etc., etc. You go your own separate ways, and you never speak to that person again. And the percentage of that is really high.
It's totally the case, and it's one of the strong reasons I think. There's another one which remind me to come back to this because it's a really cool thing for the person who's feeling nervous, the unnatural networker. But
Yeah,
this is the lack of follow up is a reason why I think the unnatural networker, someone like myself, someone like many of you maybe listen to this now, you can elevate yourselves straight above in the ranks of networkers, if you like, just by doing one thing. And as you say, it's follow up. And all follow up is doing what you said you're going to do. So if you said you were going to send someone an email, you send them an email. If you said you're going to meet for a
yeah,
coffee at a future time, do so. If you said you were going to connect on LinkedIn, just whatever it was, do it. And so, yeah, I don't understand why would you go spend time, put yourself out of your comfort zone, as we've been discussing, to go and make some maybe slightly awkward conversations for some people, and then not do anything about it afterwards. I mean, it's a complete
criminal.
waste. It's a complete waste of time. I
Sure.
mean, literally a complete waste of time. You
Yeah.
might as well just, go and have a nice lunch.
Absolutely.
Do
But
some work.
there's clearly a barrier,
Yeah.
isn't there, for most people that think, oh, I'm not gonna follow up. So
And
there's
remember, follow-up's the first test of credibility because let's imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. We talked about know, like, trust.
yeah,
Okay, you don't get to know someone totally, with one conversation at an event. Clearly, it takes more than that to do so. But you're kind of on that journey of getting to know them, getting to like them, and getting to trust them over time. If the very first time you meet, you maybe have a good conversation, chat about whatever it might be, maybe some good scope for some follow-up, you agree to meet for a coffee, and let's say you don't arrange to meet for coffee, what's that person thinking? Well, they ghosted me. That's
sure.
the first thing that they said they'd do, they've not done. Well, that's not going to build a relationship. That's not going to
No,
lead to anything, is it? So,
absolutely.
yeah, you're absolutely right. Utterly pointless going networking if you don't follow.
And you mentioned a bit about you being an unnatural networker.
Yes.
How did you come to that conclusion? And what makes somebody really natural in terms of, in how they network and do business development?
Okay, so I can give you the long story of the short story. I'll go back in
Probably you
time a
should.
little bit. This is to a previous life. In my previous business, a business called BNI. It was an organization that helped small businesses to grow through networking and referrals. And I ran that business across the UK. And there were two of us that ran the business. There was myself and my business partner, Tim. Tim, I joke about it. It was actually true. He did all the work. And I mean all the work. So spreadsheets, contracts, operations that actually made the business work. He did all that. My
Right.
role was to be the public face of the business.
Right.
The founder of the business was in America, was all around the world, very rarely in the UK. So we needed a public face, with thousands and thousands of members. to engage with and interact with members. And that was me. I drew the short straw. Anyway,
Sure.
as I sort of trying to cut this long story short, I in that role I did a lot of speaking, a lot of meeting of the members, and various people said to me, "Well, you got to write a book. You have to write a book." And I was thinking, really? That wasn't necessarily on my plan.
Wasn't the plan?
You know, when enough people say the same thing to you, and they're also people that you respect and
Sure.
you value their opinion, they're all saying the same thing. So I thought, right, I've got to do this. Started writing a book. It was always going to be a 101 guide to networking, but you'll have heard the phrase writer's block. I mean, I was just staring at that screen and nothing, it's just nothing. Or I'd write a couple of pages and I'd read it back and go, "Oh, this is so tedious. Who'd want to read this?" That was what I was thinking. Anyway, I was having a chat with Tim, the business partner in the office one day, and I was telling him about this, and we got to talking about it. And long story short, we realised actually I don't really like networking. If I could avoid it, I really would, and I'd far rather just hang out with my mates. Much easier, much less of an issue. And that was the day that the unnatural networker, the phrase, was born. Because, as I say, I am a networking expert. That's what I do. That's what I train people to do. It's how I've built my entire career.
Sure.
And it's a bit of an elephant in the room. It's like, but you don't like it? What's that about? But actually, it's really good because two sides of it come out. One, I can help other unnatural networkers. And when it then came to start writing the book properly, if you like, it actually flowed. I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy, and it took time, but it just flowed, and it was used. You could see how you could give that advice to people. And I've also had it that natural networkers, to come to your other part of the question, also say to me, I get this now. I think natural networkers are probably more extroverted types. I remember an old colleague of mine, Nicola. You've heard the phrase "work the room." You often hear it. I can work. Scares the bejesus out of me. I could never work the room. The thought of talking to everyone in the room, never going to happen. But I'd see her we go to an event together, an old colleague, and when you get in old cartoons, you get the sort of the character, their legs go round and round and round, and they shoot off over there, and they go round and round again. It was like that was what she looked like. She was just all over the place,
Tasmanian devil.
And I think to myself, how does she do that? Firstly, two, I could never do that myself. But I also thought I had to comfort myself with this. She can't possibly remember everything about every conversation.
Yeah.
What was funny was, but when we chat the next day, she really would. She would remember everything, and I was like, I just couldn't get my head around it.
Sure.
What that led me to realise in writing The Unnatural Day, and actually, I should, sorry, don't know, but there is the finished book.
There's the book. Wonderful.
Hold it in front of my face. There
See
you go.
that? The Unnatural Networker.
Yeah, beautiful. It is actually 10 years old. I don't know exactly when this goes out, on the 1st of October. So in a few weeks' time. It's 10 years old, that book. Anyway, that's by the by. What I said I wanted to share this about unnatural networkers because I think a lot of people think, well, I can't network if I'm not that extroverted, work the room type like my colleague who's just very happy going up to anyone and talking to them. Yeah. I think, this is my belief, but I think unnatural networkers can be even better networkers than the natural networkers, because this is what happens. I get into a conversation because I'm then now comfortable.
Yep.
The thought of going to speak to someone else, that makes me all uncomfortable again. That makes me unnatural. So I'm going to stick a bit longer. Now, you can't stay too long in a conversation. You have to break it off at some point. Yep. But because I'm spending a bit more time with people, well, what happens? I get to know them better.
Yeah.
When you get to know them better, you build a better relationship. So I might only speak to 5, whereas Nicola spoke to 25. But I might know those 5 a little bit better. Yeah. So look, it's only an opinion. I do believe that unnatural networkers can be even better networkers than natural ones because they're going to spend that time. To be honest, it's no right answer. There's no right or wrong. It's just different ways of doing it. So I think that's where it comes from. I've got a very long answer to your question. I hope I
No, you've answered that really well, quite succinctly, to be honest. Real clarity on the unnatural networker and the natural networker, the go-getter, if you like. So that was great, Charlie. And thanks for sharing your book as well. And if anybody wanted to get hold of your book, how could they do so?
Amazon's the easiest place to do it. Just Google it. Amazon is Unnatural Networker. It will come straight up. If you go to my website, unnaturalsuccess.com, there's also a link there. So
okay, great stuff. And tell me, so I'd love to know, like, of an example of where you've taken somebody on that journey from being, a rabbit in headlights type character to, like, really enjoying or certainly embracing the fact that they need to network and actually get business out of it. Um, Tell us about that, Charlie.
Yeah, no, to be honest, you've actually reminded me. I've got really two types of people who come to me.
Yeah.
There's the people who are genuine rabbit in the headlights, and they need the confidence, honestly, more than anything else to do it. And there's countless examples of people I've had do that. There's one example recently. It's someone who I see just flourishing and flowering on LinkedIn. She, complete, just like me, nervous, unnatural networker. Didn't want to do it. Wouldn't want to go to events, wouldn't want to post on LinkedIn. That's something that us unnatural networkers find quite hard. I've written a second book since called The Unnatural Promoter. It's all about self-promotion. And sometimes for some people, just posting on LinkedIn, posting on any social platform, even messaging a WhatsApp group, honestly, can sometimes feel a bit awkward doing it. Anyway, that was definitely where she came from. And I now see her post on LinkedIn and she's flowering with it. She's it's mainly in here. It's a confidence thing, but she just needed that unlocking, and it goes straight away. So that's one type of client.
Brilliant.
I help. The other type is I can't give the name of this person. This is guy in legal sector, very keen to make partner in his firm. The reason I can't give his name is because he told me he doesn't like the rest of his firm, and he's kind of probably doing this for himself. And when he makes partner, he's going to go and do his own thing or move firm or whatever it might be. So hopefully that makes sense. But he came to me with the challenge of, look, I can have a conversation. He's very confident. He's none of these issues in terms of just walking into a room and getting into a conversation. Not a problem at all. What he found was he'd have lots of conversations, but they didn't go anywhere. There was nothing coming, in the end, okay, I say it's not about sales, it's not directly, but in the end, you've got to have a return. And he was being instructed to bring clients in, and certainly to make partner, he needed to bring clients in, to the firm. So his challenges were slightly different. Yeah. It was partly about making sure he wasn't going in with a sales approach, as we talked about, but then we got into different things that really made a difference to him. So, for example, being really targeted of the sorts of business he could bring in. Now, he was he'd found or had built a reputation for himself within his firm of doing quite a lot of work in the construction industry. So we started targeting him on construction. We started getting him really clear about telling the story of how he'd helped clients within that industry. A lot of people aren't specific enough, honestly. And if you want to get results in your networking, think about it. When you've got the relationships with people, they're not like your best friend, but they're like your friend. They would try and help you if they could. Oh. So you've got to target them in the right way. You've got to send your network out to try and help you. So he started doing that. The latest news is he's not made partner yet, but he's getting close. So I hope to be able to report back with very positive news on that for him. But it was, for him, it was about reframing the conversations he was having and having better conversations that led to something. So and two different types of clients there.
No, brilliant. And you mentioned two really important words there: storytelling. Yeah. And so that helps with engaging, right?
Definitely.
And so people resonate with stories, and it doesn't feel like you're selling.
That's the honestly, we're delving into some of my more detailed content, which we obviously haven't got time to do in
sure.
But I do a whole storytelling workshop. One of the things, so many times you'll meet someone networking, you'll get past the initial pleasantries. Hi, what's your name? Some of the small talk. I don't like the small talk. Don't go there. But you'll have some of that sometimes, and then they'll start launching and say, well, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, and do that. And they literally just list out the services they can offer. I can, taking lawyers. I can sort your contracts out. I can do your wills and trusts. I can do this, or whatever. Look, no one wants that. We don't want that because we're being sold to. And let's face it, we don't want that in terms of an interesting conversation as well. There's far more interesting things you can have. But what you can do is say, tell a story about how you helped a client. Now, you might not give the name of the client, obviously, the exact circumstances, but tell the story about how you felt help the client. Yeah. Not so much what you did, but how the client felt. Yeah. If the client was, generally speaking, when a client comes to you or a prospect comes to you at that point, they're worried about something. There's an issue somewhere. There's something's not going right and they need it fixed. You then do your stuff, write the contract, and then how do they feel afterwards? How's that work for them? What difference it made? And yeah, you're absolutely right. You're selling without selling, because you're getting across exactly what you do, but without feeling that you're really just hard selling to them. So yeah, there's a lot more to that, obviously.
No doubt.
Yeah, storytelling is a vital part of networking.
Well, Charlie, I can speak to you all afternoon, mate. It's been wonderful having this chat and sharing your insights into, you know, the unnatural networker and how they can become more natural, maybe.
I always say
that's ever a possibility.
I'm always going to be the unnatural networker. It's never going to be natural for me.
Yeah.
No, I can do it.
Yeah.
But it still always feels slightly unnatural. But hey, that's part of the fun, I'd say.
I suppose so, and I suppose the key thing is making sure that you develop those relationships. So
build relationships.
Build relationships is the key thing to it all, isn't it? No, it's been a pleasure. If anybody wants to get hold of you, wants to meet with you, engage with you, how can they do that?
Best way, LinkedIn definitely is the easiest and most direct way. So yeah, search me on LinkedIn, Charlie Lawson. My company's called Unnatural Success. It'd be pretty obvious if you found the right Charlie Lawson. There was a Charlie Lawson, I believe, in Coronation Street. Not that I've ever watched it. So someone told me that's
okay.
I'm sure you won't. You'll find the right one. Or my website, unnaturalsuccess.com. That's
excellent
place to find.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Charlie.
Pleasure. Cheers, Andre.
Speak soon.
Catch you soon.
Care. Bye-bye.